This is the Brave Ideas Podcast, brought to you by Aqua. Welcome to episode 9 of the Brave Ideas Podcast, the show that is all about bringing to light fresh perspectives from the worlds of digital and marketing. I'm Dan Herman, a digital strategist, a whiskey connoisseur, and a sporadic film critic. And I'm here today with my co-host.
I'm Sinead. I'm also a digital strategist, a Muppet fan, and Jason Segel's future wife. He just doesn't know about it quite yet. But before we get started with this week's show, we're going to give a very special Brave Ideas shout out to someone who has shared or retweeted our podcast on social media. And this week, that shout out goes to Latando Mfabe. So thank you so much, Latando, for the share. And if you want to get a shout out, please share or retweet our show on social media, and we'll pick a new fan each episode to say thanks to.
Today, we're talking to Shera Eshmade, account lead at Aqua. She is a world traveler who has been to approximately 50 to 150 countries across the world. She is a serial smiler, and today she's going to talk to us about the science of integration. Shera, what's new?
Well, first of all, Dan, there is no such thing as the science of integration. Unfortunately, it is more a constantly redefined art.
So I just want to jump in and say, let's take a step back quickly and talk about what's happening at the moment in terms of changing landscape with agencies, and why is integration such a key focal point for us right now?
So Advertising Age identifies that the number one challenge or issue that senior marketers are facing is integration. And we know that when our clients have a challenge, it becomes our challenge, especially because we are the cause of that challenge. We know that they are having to deal in their capacity with multiple egos across multiple different suppliers or partners, and that is something that they're trying to manage, and it often falls upon us as the different partner agencies to assist them in that process.
So Shera, why are agencies filled with so many egos?
Dan, I think that there's certain things we can solve in the world, and there's certain things we can't. And I think that ego and passion often go closely hand in hand. And when people are really passionate about an idea, they're going to fight for it. Also, when people are passionate about their agency and their people, and of course the bottom line, which is often the biggest fight, people are going to put a lot of passion behind that. So that there are certain things we'll be able to get away from, and there's certain things we aren't. And that is why integration is so important, because there's so many different aspects that we're needing to combat.
Is this a new thing, though? I know that it's probably been an issue in the past. I just feel that it's coming to a head right now. I kind of feel that a lot of agencies are a bit like pimply, angsty teenagers, like trying to redefine themselves. So what's going on with that?
So I don't think integration is a new challenge whatsoever. I think that in the past, everything sat in one place, and you had Justin above the line because that's all there was.
Yeah.
And however slowly that's grown, of course it grew into below the line. Now there's digital. So if you're sitting in an integrated agency, or you're sitting in a situation with multiple partners, that challenge is exactly the same. If you're sitting in a through-the-line agency and are needing to manage PR, digital, etc., you are still dealing with often different bottom lines within and above the line agency or through the line agency, as you are with different partners. So those challenges are often very similar and needing to be managed in the same way.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the agency landscape has completely changed. Mm-hmm. There's multiple agencies now mushrooming. Even in the digital space, I mean, you see mobile specialist agencies, you see social media specialist agencies. There are agencies that buy media for the agencies that buy media. Like, there is so many, the supply chain is so massive and so huge now, because there's so many different marketing offerings that exist.
And
but surely, Shera, wouldn't the right solution for a client be to put all their eggs in one basket? Like, isn't an integrated solution the ideal situation for a client? Why would they want to deal with 12 different agencies at different times? What's the benefit of that?
Absolutely, and I think having personally been on both sides of the equation, I can look at it from both different points. And I think in the end, what the client is looking for, so Sinead, exactly to your point, whereas in the past we were dealing with far fewer different parties, as the media landscape's grown, so the areas of specialization have grown, and so has the integration challenge, right? So no matter which side you're sitting on, for a client, they are really busy. They do not have time to deal with 20 different people, and sometimes 40 different people sitting around the table, all with different perspectives and ideas, all trying to encroach on each other. So what they're looking for is, what is the idea? How do we reach our consumers, and how do we bring that to life? It's more about, if we are able to work together, whether you're in a through-the-line agency trying to deal with these problems or multiple partners, the challenge is often identical. It is about putting all those different ideas on a table and aligning on them. So whether you are a through-the-line agency, you are still going to have these same challenges, because everyone's always going to come from their angle with their own area of specialization, their own point of view, and with a strong viewpoint that they're going to want to thrust in front of their client.
So Shera, I just want to thank you for not answering my question. But I think, I understand why. And I'm not saying that it's the right solution, because I think what I was trying to get to with that question was around the fact that each agency has a specialist skill.
Yes.
And each of those they are experts in those fields, right? So I assume that a client would want to employ those agencies based on their expertise. But to go back to Sinead's point, when you're talking about how agencies are now evolving and becoming sort of these angsty, pimply teenagers that are increasing their supply chain offerings so that they can offer more to their clients. Like, I think that what that really means is that agencies today are now fighting for every other agency's scope. So I would assume then that every agency who works for a client, they're ideal, right? And these are the egos talking in an agency, would be to become the sole integrated agency for every other agency in the world. It's not how it materially works like that. How do we get around those objectives, those top-level agency-specific objectives, and deliver the best work for our client?
So, Dan, I do think that there's a lot to be said for fully integrated agencies. I've had that experience, so I have seen the benefits of it working, where all your eggs are sitting in one basket and you've got a consolidated person that's able to have those conversations. I also think that if you, as a specialist agency, if we do not learn to play well with partners, that the model will in time become extinct unless you can retain exactly what your area of specialization is and be able to integrate with other partners. Clients do not have the capacity in their lives to have to go and play fetch all the time and bring people on board. So as a specialist agency, so digital is our focus at Aqua. However, we know that we're a through-the-line agency and we are equally able to do a TV ad or billboard tomorrow if we need to, just like many of our partner agencies that we work with could do digital as well. So we know that as we're all starting to understand the media landscape, so everything changes really quickly, but equally it doesn't change that quickly. So we're all learning at a rapid pace. Advertising, by its very nature, is at the forefront of change, and so all the people that are working within it are constantly seeking to learn more. And so we're all upskilling ourselves and across the multiple agencies. And that's what's really important, that our clients, each client is going to have different needs and appoint different agencies with different areas of specialization. So that's where the client is going to play a really critical role. So just because we can all do everything doesn't mean we should all be doing everything. And so it's important that we know, for this specific client, what is our mandate? How do we do the best work we can for that client based on the mandate that we have received?
Personally, I think that we shouldn't be an integrated. I don't think clients should have all their eggs in one basket. I think the exciting bits come out when you have different specialized agencies and you're challenging and you're continuously like finding new ways of doing things, but also getting a different perspective. So maybe it's more about an attitude.
So I think that's really important. I think the contestation of ideas is what defines an agency landscape. What sometimes happens is that the egos don't like their ideas to be contested, and that's where a lot of the clashes, in my experience, sort of come in, is that when agencies we're in an ideas industry, we want to protect and defend the ideas, and we want our ideas to be successful. And I think it takes some time in a process for those ideas to be seen as one big idea and to come together and work in an appropriate way. So I'd just be interested to hear your opinion on that. I mean, how do you think ideas should be generated in an ideal agency landscape?
So I think, Dan, to your exact point, we know we're dealing with various people, different levels of expertise sometimes, and I think that collaboration and understanding each other, understanding each other's strengths, understanding each other's weaknesses. And to do that, it takes time. Integration does not happen overnight. That's why we often see when there's a new kid on the block that they're trying to prove themselves, and that's where integration often falls apart. Integration really works when different partner agencies have worked together across multiple projects over a substantial period of time, so that genuine relationships can form. So for integration, you need to apply partnership principles. You need to have respect for each other's level of expertise. You need to, over time, build that level of trust in those expertise and know that you're all coming together and sitting at a table all as equals. So up front, you need to not only be briefed together, you need to often, depending on the nature of the brief, brainstorm together where time and process allows, but also to continually get together and share those ideas and discuss them. I know as ACWA, we've often worked with different partner agencies, and we'll get together and we'll say, partners, what do you think? This is our idea. And they say, what about this? What about this? We say, great. And they give us their ideas, and we can equally give feedback. And we know when we worked really closely with partners, your end result is far greater because the creative output will be far better when you're all collaborating on a project. And that doesn't happen overnight. That takes time, and it takes constant hard work, because as soon as one person puts their foot on line and gets a bit greedy, or the top has said to them, no, we need to get more money, this needs to, we want that piece of the pie, that often can throw a bit of a spanner in the works and can spin things out of place. So it's really important that from a business point of view, from a top-down approach, that integration is not only understood, but it is enforced, because it is about what you're losing on the swing sometimes with ideas, you're winning in the roundabouts. So when something is not right for your area of discipline, then instead of fighting to have it just to get the bottom line affected, it's rather about saying what is right for our client, what is right for their business, and most importantly, what is right for our target market, for the consumer at the end of the day. Because when we have an idea that reaches that consumer, all partners need to work together to say what is the best way to bring that idea to life. And when we all buy into that idea and we all work collaboratively around that idea, then it's easier to leave an ego at the door. And I know that's easier said than done. I mean, we experience that on a daily basis. And that challenge is never going to go away. We're never going to have the situation where everyone walks in, everyone's best friends, and there's no egos. I mean, that's a perfect world situation which doesn't exist. But if we're able to respect each other's areas of specialization and work together in a honest conversation way. So when someone's idea is not great and you have a better one, fight for your idea. But equally, when their idea is better, then let's celebrate in that. When our partners have challenges, let's work together with them to overcome their challenges. Because if they are not where they need to be, it's going to affect us in the end as well. And so we see the best creative work coming out when partner agencies work together in order to solve each other's challenges and bring that to life.
Shera, I mean, I think it's really interesting what you're saying. In fact, I think you should possibly consider becoming a Middle East peace fair. Because, I mean, I think that the truth is that the agency landscape is a dogfight. I mean, it is really difficult out there, especially in a tough economy where businesses need to survive. So, I mean, I think that the principles you're talking about are important, but sometimes that's not enough, right? Mm-hmm. When it isn't enough, what should we do? I mean, who do we look to enforce that role, that integration?
Yeah, so as we said, a lot of the challenges come from the top, where it's those objectives in terms of ego, finances, passion of ideas, etc. And it is, whereas your worker bees are more about wanting to just get jobs done. So often when things do spiral out of control, when everybody is encroaching on each other's business, I think not only do clients need to set those parameters up front, and clients need to lead the process. Although you can have a lead agency, in the end, they also have they only have certain boundaries that they can operate within themselves as well, right? So you need a strong client. Integration works really well when you have a strong client that as soon as someone's stepping out of play and presenting things, for example, that haven't been discussed with other partner agencies, they often can stand out like a bit of a sore thumb as well when everyone else is collaborating well together. And it's about nipping it in the butt right up front and saying, hang on, this is not how it should be. Let's rather, guys, this is how we want to rather this is your area of specialization and this is what you should be doing and how you should be working together. So from a client point of view, I think is fundamental. They need to put those partnership principles in place and work collaboratively with the agencies to do so. Then secondly, internally within each agency, you can't have an expectation of your client service people to be collaborative if your creative people feel that they don't want to be collaborative. So it needs to be an agency view. It needs to be a team view. We know different teams operate quite differently, and it is about driving that internally as much as you're driving it externally.
Cool. I think this has been a really insightful conversation. So I'd just like to know if there was one thing you would take out for the people at Aqua as well as the broader industry, what would it be?
So I think for me the most important thing is leaving the egos and the channels at the door and rather focusing at putting our clients and the idea and most importantly the consumer's needs at the center. Because when we can do that, then it will help us know when our piece of the pie is needed and when it's not needed, and then building, respecting the people that are sitting at the table with us that are our partners. Because when we can give people, when we go into a relationship with a level of respect, then everyone will work according to that and we'll slowly be able to build that level of trust.
Cool, Shera. So if people want to find out more about this topic or more about you even, what can they do?
They are welcome to drop an email at Aqua, which is sherae@aquaonline.com. Otherwise, I'm sure they'll find me online.
Cool. So now let's move on to the tool of the week.
Cool, so today's tool of the week is an iPad app called Paper by 53. And what this app does is transform your iPad into a fresh blank canvas upon which you can start to bring your ideas and thoughts to life. And it gives you the power to jot down notes, you can create diagrams, charts, and wireframes, all at the speed of thought. It is quite a niche app that's probably not for everyone, but I have seen it being used quite effectively in brainstorming sessions. I used it to take a client through a storyboard idea, and it really just helps everyone in the room start to visualize what you're trying to communicate. But I do have to say that the best thing about the app is probably its minimalistic interface. Functionality, probably not very different to a lot of other drawing apps, but it really is the beautiful interface. It makes it so simple and easy to use and actually quite a lot of fun. So my favorite function is the unique 2-finger rewind tool that allows you to undo your sketch in real time simply by putting down your 2 fingers and drawing a backward circle with 2 fingers. It's kind of like DJing. It's a lot of fun. But I do hear that they have now upgraded Paper to allow you to open all your custom designs in PowerPoint and Keynote, and you can even save it to Dropbox and Adobe Creative Cloud. So if you are interested in this tool, it is a lot of fun. I just suggest that you download it on the App Store, and once again, the app is called Paper by 53, available on the App Store.
Great, thanks Sinead, and thank you so much everyone for listening to the Brave Ideas podcast. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes, and while you're there, please give us a rating and a review. We would really appreciate your support. You can also visit aquagrp.libsyn.com for the complete library of episodes. If you want to keep up to date with new shows, you can follow Aqua Agency on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and you can also find us on Instagram at Brave Ideas Podcast. If you want to keep in touch with me, you can follow me at Elhermo, ELHERMO, on Twitter, and Elhermo23 on Snapchat and Instagram. And you can follow Sinead.
I'm Feeling Disco on Twitter and Instagram, and remember that's Feeling Disco with a K.
If you have a brave idea that you want to share on this podcast, please email braveideas@aquaonline.com to submit your idea. We would love to have you on the show and we'll definitely consider you. Special thank you to Shera Eshmade, our special guest. Thank you to Matthew Klawansky for music and production. Thanks to Eros Gous and his team for the art direction. And thanks to JP Singh for managing our social media.
That brings us to the end of the show. And remember, there are no original ideas, only original people.